People are starting to pour in now. So thank you for everyone for joining us for this second session of the day. We're joined here with Rocio Palacios of the Andean Cat Alliance, who I'll introduce properly in a minute or two. Before I do, I just wanted to give you guys a chance to get a lay of the land in this second space. It's much more interactive than the main stage, so we want to make sure that everyone understands how they're doing. And just to give you a bit of background on who I am, my name's Tommy Sheridan. I'm actually the Conservation Network here at WCN, which means that I'm lucky enough to every day work with conservationists like Rocio and others around the world all the time. But today, you guys actually are going to get a chance to step into my shoes and get to know these conservationists one-on-one yourselves. So you'll get a chance to hear from Rocio about the Andean Cat Alliance, and hopefully you'll get to answer some questions too. So, arrangement of where we are in Hopin. On the right side of your screen, you'll see the chat box, which you've seen throughout the day. In the chat box, you're more than welcome to type any questions that you have for Rocio that come up and introduce yourselves. And if you want, in this session, you can actually join us on screen. And to do that, you'll just click the request on the top right of the screen. And I can only let in about 3 to 4. So just please be. If you don't get a chance to answer your questions today with Rocio, then we'll be sure to follow up this week over email. So just feel free to write in the chat your questions. All right. And one last tip is that if you want to make Rocio's screen bigger, you can actually double click on her video to maximize it. That way you won't have to look at my scruffy COVID face. So otherwise, if you don't have any questions, feel free to just sit back and enjoy this conversation with Rocio. And now we have the lay of the land. I wanted to introduce the guest star of this session, your friend of mine and colleague, and her name is Rocio Palacios. I should call her Dr. Rocio now that she has her PhD. Rocio is a self-described crazy cat lady, and she's had a lifelong interest in wildlife. She delivered her first presentation at an environmental congress at just the age of 11, and she's never stopped since. So she studied biology at the National University of Cordoba, where she also completed her doctoral thesis on the Andean cat in northern Patagonia. She has worked in the past for the Wildlife Conservation Society, the Argentine National Parks Agency, and she's even been awarded the Disney Conservation Hero Award for her work on Andean cats. She also serves on the IUCN Cat Specialist Immunology. Right now, she lives in Argentina with her 2-legged and 4-legged family of cats here in the background. Today, she's the general coordinator of the Andean Cat Alliance, or Alianza Gato Andino, which we might refer to throughout the session as AGA. So it's a consortium, AGA, of conservationists founded in 1999 to protect the critically endangered Andean cat across its entire range, across Bolivia, Argentina, Chile, and Peru. And their mission is to protect the Andean cat and its habitat from disruptive human activities. So I'm gonna, rather than hearing from me for the rest of the session, I'm gonna pass it over to Rocio, who can tell you a very brief intro about the Andean cat and her work with AGA, or Andean Cat Alliance. And then hopefully we'll have the chance to engage everybody else and bring some of you on stage to ask directly to Rocio. So for now, I'm going to pass it off to my wonderful colleague, Rocio Palacios.
Hi, everybody, and thanks very much, Tommy, for that nice introduction. Well, as Tommy said, my name is Rocio. I'm from Argentina, and yes, I am a crazy cat person. Currently, we have 2 cats in the room. One of them you have to spot to train your eye for Andean cats. I'm lucky because I'm living my dream. I'm working for Andean cat conservation. The Andean cat is one of the most elusive wild cats in the planet and the most endangered cat in the whole American continent. It is quite a fantastic creature that adapts to one of the most extreme landscapes that you can imagine. The Andes are beautiful and outstanding. And being able to study a small wildcat in that is incredible. I work with this incredible group of people from 4 countries. Right now, we are focusing most of our work in conservation actions that I would love to answer questions about. We are working with communities to try to reduce their conflict with other carnivores that eventually ends up in the local people killing all carnivores. We are working with communities also trying to help them find other economical sources to gain their living that are more friendly to the environment. We are working to reduce the impacts of traditional gold extraction, and we are also doing research for certain aspects of the ecology of the Andean cat that are not being studied. So I really love answering questions, and I really want this opportunity to be mostly on your side. You can ask anything you want, and I would love to see some friendly faces here, and I would love to hear about you. So I'm ready for any questions you and your cats too. I'm seeing cats saying hi too.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rocio. We're excited to have you. And Rocio, just a bit of guidance. A few people said that they heard when I was talking. So when you're not speaking, just try to mute yourself and then unmute whenever you're talking again. I think it's just
okay.
You're around in the back and the cats. So that's okay. All right. So I think one of the first people that requested to join the session is Nicole Rustad. So I'm going to add her to join us, and hopefully that works. So we see Nicole on screen. But in the meantime, Rocio, I have a quick question for you from Fiona Patterson, who wrote this in the chat. She said, I heard this year that for the first time in 12 years, there was a sighting of an Andean cat in Mendoza, Argentina. So could you tell us a bit about how the population of Andean cats are doing there, and how Aga actually spotted this cat?
Hi, Nicole. Nice seeing you. So Mendoza is it's one of my favorite places because it's where I work, where I did my PhD and everything. And we have been working in Mendoza since 2007. And we got records of the Andean cat in Villavicencio. I don't know if you know about the province. And we did not get any records of the cat in the province, like never again, for a lot of years. At the beginning of last year, an Andean cat was roadkill in Mendoza. That was our first record after a long time of no records in that province. And this year we captured the cat with camera traps, and we also had a second roadkill animal in Mendoza province. We are doing a lot of active programs in Mendoza right now, and we are working on with the communities there. But it's the news kind of became a lot bigger than what they really were. The cats are in Mendoza; they were not extinct in Mendoza, and we just found them again now.
Good news. I mean, we all could use some good news about wildlife right now. So glad to hear the population in Mendoza is doing better than we thought. Nicole, great to see you on stage. How are you doing?
So good to see you guys. Also, the work you guys are doing is phenomenal, and I've been blessed to meet you and see the project. I just want to hear about, have you had the experience of viruses impacting the cats? We just heard in the last session on the main stage that unfortunately there's been some transfer of COVID-19 to big cats at a zoo. And I'm wondering if you've ever seen that before with the Andean cat.
Well, that actually is a big concern for us. We don't really know if this particular virus affect Andean cats, but because there is consistent evidence that the virus is actually affecting felids, we are taking all measures into consideration. We are not doing active fieldwork now, except for checking on the protective guard dogs that we have in both in Chile and Argentina. But we are not doing other particular intense fieldwork that will expose us to the cats. But we are concerned about this because there's not enough information. We do have a specialist in our team. She's Constanza Napolitano. She's from Chile. She's a vet who is a PhD in biology, and she has been devoting her life for studying different zoonotic diseases that can pass between not only humans and cats or humans and other wild carnivores, but also between different domestic species. So I think that with under her surveillance, we can keep on doing a good job. But for now, we will not be getting out on the field until we don't know more a lot about of this disease. Because as you know, Nicole, already, this is a highly endangered species. And if we drop a virus that will really affect them, we will probably get it extinct. So we have to be very, very careful with this and any other pathogens.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for your question, and thank you for everything you're doing on Voxels. Really, I love the creatures, and my kids already have their prints of their favorite animals. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. We're happy to do anything we can to support your amazing work, and we just want to inspire kids to be passionate about animals like Andean
Awesome.
cat.
Thank you, Nicole.
We're gonna move on to the next person now, so we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. All right, so next up, I'm going to add Doug Bender. He had a question. I'm going to add him to join with Rocio. And then, Rocio, while we're waiting for Doug, we have one more question from the chat from Natalia Condor. And I think John Rubin asked the same thing. It's, what would be the main threats to the Andean cat?
Main threats for the Andean cats are habitat loss and destruction, mainly because of extractive industries, both mining and gold extraction, mining and oil extraction, I'm sorry. And the second main threat that's affecting the species all over the range in different intensities is hunting. Hunting occurs for two main reasons. One is lack of knowledge, people not knowing that this cat is an endangered species, that is a different species than the other cats that live with it. So they kill it just because they know it. And they're also affected by retaliatory killing. This killing happens when, for instance, pumas and culpeo foxes that are like coyotes, kind of, prey on livestock. And after they prey on livestock, they are, these people that are affected by this problem get out there and they kill all animals just in case, all carnivores. So we are working really hard to address these threats right now. Thank you. Thank you for that question. Thank you for reminding me to say something that is important like this.
Awesome. Thank you, Rocio. All right, I'm going to try to add Courtney Good, who suggested that she wanted to ask a question. And I saw actually come up in the chat, somebody asked, can you share a photo of the Andean cat? I don't have a photo with me, but I do have this little model Andean cat. So Rocio, if you want, you could tell people a bit about the makeup of the Andean cat itself. What's so special about its long tail, and how big are they traditionally? Sure. I think she might have an Andean cat around herself.
Nah, I'm asking somebody to bring me one of the big pictures of Andean cats we have. So the Andean cat is than a house cat, but it looks even bigger than that because it's very fluffy and has a very long tail that allows it to move through the rocky cliffs that it lives in the Andes. The colors is mainly gray with kind of light coffee spots on it, and the coloring is perfect for the landscape. So it's an animal that melts in the landscape. I have my assistant here. See, here. You get to see the screen reflection in it. So this is a beautiful picture that Jim Sanderson took a lot of years ago. One of the first pictures taken of the Andean cat over 20 years ago. So it's a beautiful animal for anybody that loves cats.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rocio. All right, I'm going to try to add two more folks. RJ Harvey, if you're still around, I'm going to add you to the on-screen session, as well as Elizabeth Lowndes. So we'll see if you guys can both join. And we have one more question, Rocio, along with, we heard about the threats, but at exactly what altitude do Andean cats tend to to be at?
Andean cats in most of the range live above 12,000 feet, but it's like that in Peru, Bolivia, in Argentina, it lives very, very high in Argentina, but in the opens and it goes to Patagonia, North Patagonia. It's actually a species that it depends on mostly climatic conditions. It lives in dry landscapes and that has really not a lot of rain, and with a very particular characteristic that the hotspots of the potential prey species like in patches. So it has a naturally fragmented distribution because it moves from patch of a lot of density of prey to another patch of density of prey.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to try to add Jonathan Ayers. But in the meantime, we have another question from a friend of Rocio's, Christine Hemrick. She wrote in the chat, she said, "Hey Rocio, are the local communities that reside close to the Gato Andino or Andean cat being impacted by COVID-19?
So far, we have been lucky because the disease has not impacted our communities. And I say our communities because we have been working with them for a long time and we became friends. And we are really, really worried about how this disease could affect the communities because they are really isolated human communities that live out there in the middle of nowhere and are our first ambassadors for the conservation of the species. And social isolation is a concept that is not really something that they can comprehend. So we are afraid that it could happen that if the virus gets to be devastating for the population. Most of the population is on older ages, so it's not, and the health system that they have, it's absolutely it does not exist. They have these tiny health rooms that don't even have thermometers. Really, really concerned about this, and we very intense working remotely, all of us in all the countries we are, contacting the communities, assessing their needs and trying to kind of put together health packages for them with basic needs, masks, thermometers, because the main threat is not, because they are so isolated, it sounds good to live there, but the problem is that a lot of people are passing the quarantine in their relatives' houses in the cities. So we are afraid of what would happen when they go back to the communities. So we are trying to work with the local authorities to get them thermometers, to test people before they arrive. So we are working really hard. So far, we have been lucky. But 3 days ago, I think, one of our colleagues, Rodrigo, whom a lot of you know, told us that COVID-19 is in the community right next to Coirón. Coirón is a place we are working with to build together a protected area for Andean cats. So this is one of the most important places for us. And that community particularly has been really under a lot of stress this past year because Chile went after having all this economical and social crisis. They also had this a severe drought that they lost over 80% of their livestock because of the climatic conditions. So we really need to help them, and they will work really hard to put everything together to send them to help them prevent the infection. Thanks, Christine, for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. We hope they stay healthy. All right, I'm going to try to add two more folks, Diane Henry and Vicky Lyric. And in the meantime, Rocio, I was wondering, I also have another pal here from the Andean Cat Alliance. So this is a llama from actually when I went last year to visit the Andean Cat Alliance's work in Peru. And the local community made this craft right here. And I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about Alga's program called Cat Crafts.
Yeah, we have evolved in AGA, and we moved from a lot of science to a lot of conservation for the past 10 years, and we've been doing programs that can be implemented in the different communities that we approach, testing the different set of tools and what works in Chile, and looking at our communities, mainly the women population in the communities, to through the creation of handcrafts with a resource that they usually threw away, that is felt. They usually throw away that, and we train them, and we can build them with people to train them and to make it to create that they could sell in a more bigger scale, helping them create their own sell channels. And now we are trying to move on to the online sales. But all of this has a very big plan, because we want to capacity build them so they can do it. So for us, we are empowering them, and they are becoming our conservation ambassadors. And one of the highlights of this program was that after training the women and after they felt part of something bigger than themselves, you have to realize that most of these women never left their hometowns. They became huge conservation ambassadors for Andean cats and other carnivores. And because they are bringing an economical income to the household, they also become decision makers to what happens in the communities. So behaviors are changing that even include hunting of carnivores, because they are afraid they're going to lose this other income. So it's been growing really way too fast. Peru last year, and they already with everything they're doing, they call themselves the how it grows.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's an amazing program. Thank you, Rocio. Rocio, I think your audio was coming in and out a bit. So if you need to, you can also hide your video, and it might work better with the audio. It might come in clearer. It looks like we have Jenny Hahn has a question for us, so I'm going to add her on screen. And in the meantime, we have one more question from Laurent, who asked, is tourism in some parts of the Andean cats range at all affecting the species in any way?
That is hard to know. It used to in the past. It used to affect the Andean cat, because off-road tourism was a huge, crazy thing, and the Andes is a very low recovery landscape. So if you destroy a tiny piece of it, it will stay there for years. The damage that you will see there. But there was a program several years ago that specifically addressed this problem, and they created a huge change. They made tourist companies to be more conscious about where they moved, and they kind of designed roads for visiting the Andes. But this was in one country, that was Chile mainly, and in Argentina in some part. But truly, the landscape is so vast and it's so easy to access it with 4x4 vehicles. It may be a problem somewhere. I cannot really tell, because it's not one of the biggest threats that we have identified so far.
Got it. Okay. And one more question from Jessica Lockridge. She said she's a big fan of wildcats, and she was wondering, with your own experience working as a biologist, what steps can she take to land a career that involves the conservation of wildcats? So maybe if you could tell us a bit about your own story, about speaking in a Congress at the age of 11 about conservation, and your journey to get here.
That's a hard question to answer, because everyone's reality is different. But what I when I get an email from people that want to volunteer with us, that are students, and you know, it's just for north. Don't lose your focus. And if you want to be a wildlife biologist that want to work with wildcats, just work for it. And if you send like 10 emails to different organizations want to volunteer and you get only 2 answers and both are no, keep on sending. Next the week after that, send 10 more. And that's the only way to get there, because sometimes organizations don't really have room for volunteers. Some organizations never answer to you. And what I think it's really important is to never lose your north. In my country, becoming a biologist when I was a student was a huge bumpy road. It was a university that from the first class of the first year, they were telling you 70% of you will fail. That was the speech of the professor on the first year. 70% of you will fail, will never become biologists. And I think I dropped my career like 3 times, but I always did it in summer holidays. So by the beginning of the year, the next year, I was again, you know, fighting for it. But it just never lose hope. Do field work. Go to the field. You know, buy a good tent, a good sleeping bag, and go to the field. Get used to it. Because when I look for volunteer field experience, I'm not going to look at your grades. I'm going to look at how much field experience you have. Because in the field, I prefer somebody with a 2.5, something like that, but that can endure the cold weather, for instance, and won't be complaining all the time because it's cold. Yes, it's cold for all of us. So those kind of things, you know, move your north and go to the field.
Wonderful. Inspiring. Thank you, Rocio. All right. So we're running low on time. We probably have time for about one more question. So feel free to add in any more questions you have, and we'll try to get back to you in the next week. Let's see. One more question. So Clara Hanley, she wrote into the chat, she said, I'm just learning about the cats for the first time, and it seems they're actually quite adaptable. So with that said, and the various areas and altitudes that they occupy, do you think it is at all due to losing their habitat that has caused them actually to somewhat move through these altitudes? Or have they always actually been in these areas, as far as you know?
Actually, the Andean cat lives in a very big range, but it's very specific for the particular location it lives in. We think that it's not really a highly adaptable species, because if you compare it to the pampas cat, that is a species that live with it in the same landscape, the pampas cat adapts to a huge broad difference of landscapes and ecological different scenarios, different vegetational scenarios. But the Andean cat is very, very specifically restrained by climatic conditions in that are what exists in high elevation. So we don't really believe that the cat was in lower elevations before. We believe that what is happening in Patagonia, we don't really know, because when you talk with local people in North Patagonia, they don't even have a common name for the cat. It's important, because in all the rest of the Andes, the Andean cat is a sacred species. And you have talk with people from Quechua cultures that are native cultures from the Andes, the cat is sacred. But if you go to North Patagonia, they don't even have a common name for the cat. Not even a common. Very strange what is happening in Patagonia. We believe that maybe some variations in what climate is, and mostly huge hunting that occurred of chinchillas 50 years ago probably created a bottleneck for Andean cats, and they switched to that's what they eat mostly now, and that will let them expand Patagonia. But it's not really a very plastic and adapted species as other carnivores are, like mountain lions or Geoffroy's cat, or those smaller cats.
Gotcha. All right. Well, so unfortunately, that's all the time we have to chat with Rocio today. But I'm glad we got to answer so many questions. Thank you so much, Rocio, for taking the time to chat with us from Argentina. For those of you that want to join the next session on the main stage, Belinda Lomacki of the Grevy's Zebra Trust will be presenting about her work to protect the Grevy's zebra in Kenya. So if you need to, take a little break and then join us on the main stage to hear Belinda's presentation. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much to Rocio. It was awesome to talk to you. And you can learn a lot more about AGA and the Andean cat at wildnet.org/AGA. Or you can go to the Andean Cat Alliance's website too, which is gatoandino.org. So thank you guys so much for joining. Rocio, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Madison, for organizing and moderating this session. Thank you, everybody, to WCN, from WCN, for putting this together. It's been amazing. And thank you, all of you, that you have been here. And there's my cat. For you who haven't spotted her, there she is, melting with the wall. Thank you very much to everybody.
Okay. So, all right. Thank you so much, Rocio. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.
Same to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.